What's good, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Last in Conditioning. Nobody, if you ask me, should train more than 4 days per week. And the reason being is, I say 4 days because if you have something happening in your outside life, you can actually move 1 day around and you can be fine. But if you have more than 4 days per week of training, depending on what your split is like and how many sets you actually have, depending on how long it takes, you can potentially lose an entire day. And for some people, it may not be that big of a deal. However, I do believe if you are a person that trains 5 days or 6 days per week, you are someone who takes the gym very seriously, which is why I say training 4 days is better than 5 or 6. Because should something happen, you can move things around. That's not going to be realistically possible if you train 5 or 6 days per week. Not like, especially not 6. If you have to move something around with 5 days per week, realistically you're going to have to like smash 2 days together. And depending on what you're training as, if you're training as a strongman as an example, or a power lifter, that's just not going to work. It's going to be a different ball game if you have 5 days a week where 1 day would be upper body and then other day would be like lower body. Essentially, you would just like mush everything together as a full body, boom, and then move on. You could do that if you wanted to. But there's just, I believe there is a lot of value that you can have for a normal person with 4 days or less in terms of training that you can do, because you are a lot more flexible in your training and what you can do and what you cannot do, versus if you have 5 days or more per week, you don't have that level of flexibility that you would have otherwise, unless you're completely okay with basically missing sessions. However, like I said before, I do not believe anyone who trains 5 days per week that they would mentally be okay with having to basically miss a day. I think it would actually do some sort of like hit or damage to their self-worth or self-image. So I do not think that would be a particularly great idea. And I know there are some people realistically who say that, oh, I can't train 4 days per week, I need to do something every single day. Those are a little bit different. That means they have some mental work they need to do, because they need to get that feeling every single day. They need to get a similar feeling from something else, like friends, really. So that's something that you can actually think about if you're one of those kind of people. If you're one of those kind of people that I have to be there 5 or 6 days a week, but I'm not training to be an athlete, you probably need to look inward and then think about, should I actually like do something with my social life, really? Because I believe a normal person, and even strength athletes, a lot of strength athletes will actually have 4 days. Some will have 5, but a lot will have 4 days per week and do extremely well. You don't need really more than 4. You can have, for certain people in period of specialization as a strength athlete, you can have periods where you train 5 days per week to get that little bit extra few percentage points out, because that's going to matter on a competition day. Other than that, I do not think anyone should realistically train more than 4 days per week. Thank you for watching. Last in Conditioning, signing out.